Why ages 65 to 70 can be the hardest stage of life. Welcome to Sage Advice. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm glad you're here. This is a place where we talk about the realities of growing older, the changes that come with age, and the wisdom that can help us move through those changes with greater confidence and peace. Today, we're talking about something that many people experience but rarely discuss openly. Why life can feel surprisingly difficult between the ages of 65 and 70. Before we get into it, I'd love to hear from you. How old are you, and where are you watching from? Whether you're in the United States, Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom, the Philippines, or somewhere else in the world, remember that you're part of a community of people who understand that growing older comes with both challenges and opportunities. If you appreciate thoughtful conversations about aging and would like more practical wisdom for this stage of life, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Sage Advice, and turn on the notification bell. Your support allows us to continue creating content that can encourage and support older adults everywhere. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why so many people feel that life changes dramatically somewhere between the ages of 65 and 70? Many people imagine retirement as the happiest chapter of their lives. They picture peaceful mornings, more time with family, freedom from work, and finally enjoying the rewards of decades of effort. But for countless men and women, reality can feel very different. Instead of feeling completely free, they may begin to feel uncertain. Instead of feeling energetic, they may notice their bodies slowing down. And instead of feeling surrounded by people, they may experience an unexpected loneliness they never imagined. The years between 65 and 70 can become one of life's biggest turning points, not necessarily because something terrible happens overnight, but because many small changes begin occurring at the same time. Some people lose their daily routine. Others lose confidence. Some discover that their children have built lives of their own. Others begin attending more funerals than birthdays. And quietly, they may start asking questions they've never had enough time to consider before. Who am I now? What is my purpose? What will the next 20 years look like? These questions can feel overwhelming. The difficult part is that almost nobody prepares us for them. When we're younger, we're taught how to study, build careers, raise children, and manage responsibilities. But very few people teach us how to grow older emotionally. No one explains how retirement can change your identity. No one explains why friendships may naturally become smaller. No one explains why confidence can sometimes disappear, even when your health is still reasonably good. And perhaps most importantly, no one explains that these years can actually become some of the happiest years of your life once you understand what is happening. That's why today's conversation matters. We're going to explore 4 powerful reasons why the years between 65 and 70 can feel like one of the hardest stages of life. These reasons aren't meant to frighten you. They're meant to prepare you. Because preparation can replace fear with wisdom. When you understand a challenge, it becomes easier to face. Many older adults believe they're failing because life suddenly feels different. But the truth is much kinder than that. You're not failing. You're simply entering a new season of life. And this season comes with different rules. Once you understand those rules, many things begin to make much more sense. As you listen today, keep an open heart. You may recognize yourself in some of these situations. You may recognize your spouse, a parent, or a lifelong friend. More importantly, you'll discover practical ways to move through this stage with greater peace, confidence, and hope. Because reaching 65 or 70 does not mean life is coming to an end. For many people, it can mark the beginning of their wisest years. Not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because they finally understand what truly matters. So, make yourself comfortable, take a deep breath, and stay with me until the end. The 4th reason may surprise you the most. Yet understanding, it has helped many older adults completely change the way they experience these important years. Let's begin with the 1st reason, a change that almost everyone experiences, but very few people are truly prepared for. Hashtag reason 1. You suddenly lose the identity you've built for decades. For many people, the hardest part of turning 65 isn't aching knees, gray hair, or even retirement itself. The hardest part is something much less visible. It's waking up one morning and realizing that the role you've carried for decades has quietly disappeared. For 40 or 50 years, Your days probably followed a familiar rhythm. You woke up knowing that you had somewhere to go and something important to accomplish. You had responsibilities waiting for you. Maybe you worked in an office. Maybe you drove a truck, taught children, served in the military, cared for patients, owned a business, or stayed home raising a family. Whatever your role was, your life had structure. People depended on you. Your schedule gave meaning to your days. And over time, your work became part of your identity. Then, almost overnight, everything changes. The alarm clock no longer rings. Your phone becomes quieter. The meetings stop. The deadlines disappear. Even a simple question like, "What are you doing tomorrow?" can suddenly become difficult to answer. Many retirees discover that they didn't simply leave a job. They left behind a version of themselves. Consider the story of Robert, a 67-year-old engineer. For more than 40 years, he solved problems, led projects, and mentored younger colleagues. At work, people respected his experience and regularly came to him for advice. But after retirement, the phone stopped ringing. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. One afternoon, he quietly admitted to his wife, "I know I'm still alive, but I don't feel useful anymore." His health hadn't suddenly failed. His family still loved him. Yet something deep inside him had changed. He had confused his occupation with his identity. This happens to many good people. The same thing can happen to a mother whose children have grown up and moved away. For years, her home may have been filled with conversations, school lunches, birthdays, and family traditions. Then one day, the house becomes quiet. She may begin asking herself, "If my children no longer need me every day, who am I now?" These feelings are more common than most people realize. They are not a sign of weakness. They are part of a major life transition. And there is good news. Your value has never depended on your job title or your daily responsibilities. Your career may end, but your wisdom does not. Your children may become independent, but your love and guidance still matter. Retirement closes one chapter, but it can also open another. A chapter where your greatest contribution may come through mentoring, volunteering, learning new skills, strengthening friendships, serving your community, or simply becoming a source of encouragement to the people around you. Purpose does not disappear after 65. It simply changes its shape. The happiest older adults are often those who stop asking, "What did I used to do?" and begin asking, "Who can I become now?" That simple shift can transform retirement from an ending into a new beginning. So, if you're between 65 and 70 and sometimes feel as though you've lost a part of yourself, remember this. You have not lost your worth. You are simply being invited to discover a purpose that is no longer measured by a paycheck, a job title, or a busy schedule. Your value can now be measured by the wisdom, kindness, experience, and perspective that only a lifetime of living can provide. And once you embrace that truth, you're ready for the second challenge. One that often catches people completely by surprise. Because it doesn't begin in the body. It begins in the circle of people around you. Your circle becomes smaller and loneliness begins to whisper. One of the most unexpected realities between the ages of 65 and 70 is not simply that life becomes quieter. It's that the people who once filled your life can slowly begin to disappear. This change rarely happens all at once. Instead, it happens gradually, almost unnoticed. A close friend may move to another state to be closer to family. A long-time neighbor may sell the house where they lived for 30 years. Former coworkers may become busy with their own retirement and family responsibilities. Your children may be focused on raising their own families. And your grandchildren may grow into teenagers and young adults with school, careers, and friendships of their own. Suddenly, the phone doesn't ring as often. The invitations become fewer. Those coffee meetings that once happened every Friday may quietly come to an end. For many people, this shrinking social circle feels deeply personal. They begin asking themselves, "Have people forgotten me? Am I no longer important?" But the truth is often very different. Life changes for everyone. People become occupied with their own responsibilities, health concerns, and family commitments. Their absence isn't always a reflection of how much they love or value you. Let me share the story of Margaret, a 68-year-old widow. After retiring, she expected to enjoy more time with her friends. Instead, she noticed that entire weeks could pass without a meaningful conversation. She spent more time watching television than talking to another person. Birthdays became quieter. Holidays became shorter. And the silence in her home seemed louder than ever. One afternoon, she admitted something that many older adults are afraid to say out loud. "I've never felt so lonely, even though I know people still care about me." That sentence carries a truth many seniors understand. Loneliness isn't always about being physically alone. Sometimes, you can sit in a room full of people and still feel completely unseen. Loneliness often begins when we stop feeling connected, understood, or needed. The danger is that loneliness can quietly steal your joy, motivation, and even your confidence. It may convince you to withdraw even further, creating a cycle that becomes increasingly difficult to break. But there is another path. The happiest people between 65 and 70 aren't necessarily those with the largest number of friends. They're often the people who intentionally nurture meaningful relationships. They call someone instead of waiting for the phone to ring. They join a walking group, a church community, a volunteer organization, or a local club. They reconnect with an old friend they haven't spoken to in years. They smile at their neighbors, introduce themselves to new people, and remain open to new friendships even later in life. One genuine conversation can brighten an entire week. One caring friendship can remind you that you still belong. Remember, quality matters far more than quantity. You don't need dozens of friends to feel fulfilled. Sometimes, one trusted companion, one loving family member, or one welcoming community can be enough to bring warmth back into your life. Never believe the lie that you're too old to build new relationships. Some of life's most meaningful friendships can begin after retirement because they are built not on careers or convenience, but on shared wisdom, compassion, and understanding. If your world has become smaller, don't let your heart become smaller, too. Keep reaching outward. Keep saying yes to opportunities to connect. Keep believing that your presence matters. Every human being, regardless of age, needs to feel seen, valued, and loved. And as difficult as loneliness can be, there's another challenge waiting just around the corner. One that affects nearly everyone between 65 and 70. It's the growing awareness that time itself has become more precious than ever before. Hashtag reason 3. You become more aware that time is no longer unlimited. There comes a moment between the ages of 65 and 70 that many people never expect. It isn't marked by a birthday party or a retirement celebration. It arrives quietly, often during an ordinary day. Perhaps you're attending the funeral of a lifelong friend. Maybe you hear that a former coworker has become seriously ill. Perhaps your doctor recommends another medical test. Or maybe you simply notice that recovering from a common cold takes longer than it once did. In that moment, a powerful realization begins to settle into your heart. Time is no longer something you simply assume you have. It becomes something you deeply appreciate. When we're young, we often live as though tomorrow is guaranteed. We postpone dreams. We delay family visits. We tell ourselves there will always be another opportunity. But somewhere between 65 and 70, that way of thinking can begin to change. You start looking back more often than you look forward. You remember your wedding day as though it happened yesterday. You think about your first home, your children's laughter, your career, family vacations, and the people who shaped your life. Then you begin asking questions that once seemed very far away. Did I spend enough time with the people I love? What do I still want to accomplish? How do I want to be remembered? These aren't necessarily questions of fear. They can be questions of wisdom. Consider the story of James, a 69-year-old retired teacher. For years, he believed he would travel the world someday. He kept postponing those trips because work was always busy. Then retirement arrived. But so did health challenges that made long-distance travel much more difficult. One evening, he told his daughter something she never forgot. "I spent so much time preparing to live that I forgot to enjoy living." Those words hold an important lesson. Awareness that time is precious can either fill us with regret or inspire us to live more intentionally. The happiest older adults aren't those who pretend aging isn't happening. They're the ones who stop wasting energy on things that no longer matter. They forgive old grudges. They spend more time with people who bring peace into their lives. They enjoy simple pleasures, a sunrise, a walk through the park, a quiet cup of tea, a grandchild's laughter, or a meaningful conversation with an old friend. They understand that happiness is rarely found in having more. It's found in appreciating what is already here. One of the greatest gifts of growing older is learning the true value of each day. Instead of asking, "How many years do I have left?" they begin asking, "How can I make today meaningful?" That simple shift can change everything. It replaces fear with gratitude. It replaces worry with purpose. And it reminds us that while none of us can control how many years we're given, we can choose how fully we live the days we have. If you're between 65 and 70, don't let the awareness of passing time become a source of sadness. Let it become a reminder to call the person you've been meaning to call. Forgive when forgiveness is needed. Laugh more freely. Love more deeply. Create memories instead of constantly postponing them. Because life isn't measured only by the number of years we live. It's measured by the love we give, the kindness we share, and the lives we touch along the way. Reason 4. You must choose between simply growing older and continuing to grow as a person. Perhaps the greatest challenge between the ages of 65 and 70 has nothing to do with wrinkles, gray hair, or physical strength. It has everything to do with one important decision. Will you simply grow older, or will you continue to grow as a person? These two paths may look similar from the outside, but they can lead to very different lives. Some people reach retirement believing that life is essentially over. They stop learning. They stop trying new things. And slowly, they begin telling themselves, "I'm too old for that." Those 5 words can become one of the greatest barriers to happiness. They stop reading because they believe there's nothing left to learn. They stop exercising because they assume it won't make a difference. They stop making new friends because they believe everyone already has their own lives. They stop dreaming because they feel their best years are behind them. Without realizing it, they begin surviving instead of truly living. Now consider another person of the same age. Meet Helen, a 66-year-old grandmother who had never touched a paintbrush in her life. After retiring, she enrolled in a community art class, simply because she had always admired beautiful paintings. At first, she felt nervous. She worried that everyone would be younger or more talented than she was. But week after week, she kept showing up. Then something wonderful happened. She discovered a passion she never knew existed. She made new friends, laughed more often, and found herself waking up each morning with something to look forward to. A year later, her grandchildren proudly hung one of her paintings in their home. Helen often says, "Retirement didn't end my life. It gave me the chance to discover another part of myself." That is the difference between growing older and continuing to grow. Age does not determine your future. Your attitude does. Real-life experience consistently shows that older adults, who remain mentally curious, socially connected, physically active within their abilities, and emotionally engaged can experience greater happiness and resilience than those who completely withdraw from life. Growing doesn't require climbing mountains or running marathons. Sometimes, growth is wonderfully simple. It can mean reading a new book, learning how to use new technology so you can stay connected with family, planting a small garden, joining a walking group, volunteering at your church or community center, learning a musical instrument, keeping a journal, or sharing your life experiences with younger generations who can benefit from your wisdom. Every small step sends a powerful message to your mind. My life still has purpose. One of the greatest gifts older adults possess is perspective. You've survived disappointments. You've celebrated victories. You've overcome hardships. And you've learned lessons that younger people are only beginning to understand. The world still needs your patience. It still needs your kindness. It still needs your wisdom. And it still needs your encouragement. Never believe that your most meaningful contribution has already been made. Sometimes, the most important chapter of a person's life is written after retirement, when they finally have the time to invest in relationships, serve others, and become the person they were always meant to be. So, if you're between 65 and 70, remember this. You cannot stop the calendar from moving forward, but you can decide whether each new year becomes just another number or another opportunity. You still have the ability to learn. You still have the ability to inspire. You still have the ability to love, forgive, grow, and make a difference. And that's why the years between 65 and 70 should never be seen only as the hardest stage of life. They can also become the most meaningful stage of life. They invite you to let go of who you were, embrace who you are, and step confidently into the years ahead with wisdom, gratitude, and hope. At Sage Advice, We believe that growing older isn't about losing life. It's about discovering a deeper way to live it. Stay with me, because in our closing thoughts, I want to share one final message that I hope will stay with you long after this video ends. Hashtag final thoughts. As we come to the end of today's conversation, I want to leave you with one final thought. If you're somewhere between the ages of 65 and 70, or even beyond, remember something that society often forgets to say. You are not reaching the end of your value. You are reaching the height of your wisdom. The world often celebrates youth. It praises speed, appearance, and achievement. But there are gifts that only time can give. Only time teaches patience. Only time teaches forgiveness. Only time teaches us that peace is more valuable than proving we're right. And only time teaches us that the people we love matter far more than the things we own. By the time you reach this stage of life, you've already survived storms that many younger people cannot even imagine. You've experienced moments of joy that filled your heart with gratitude. You've also carried burdens that no one else fully understands. Perhaps you've said goodbye to your parents. Perhaps you've buried a lifelong friend. Perhaps you've watched your children leave home. Perhaps you've overcome illness, financial hardship, heartbreak, or disappointment. Yet, despite all of that, you're still here. And that alone is something to be proud of. Never underestimate the strength it takes to keep moving forward after decades of life's victories and losses. The years between 65 and 70 may feel difficult because life asks you to let go of many things that once defined you. It asks you to let go of old routines, old expectations, old roles, and sometimes even old dreams. But every ending quietly makes room for a new beginning. Instead of asking, "What have I lost?" try asking yourself, "What have I gained?" You've gained experience that cannot be bought. You've gained wisdom that cannot be learned in a classroom. You've gained compassion because you've known both happiness and sorrow. And you've gained the ability to encourage others simply by sharing your story. Remember this. Your children may not always ask for your advice, but they're still watching how you live. Your grandchildren may not remember every gift you gave them, but they will remember how safe, loved, and accepted they felt in your presence. Your friends may forget some conversations, but they'll never forget the kindness you showed them. That is your legacy, not the size of your bank account, not the title you once held, not the car you drove, not the house you owned. Your greatest legacy is the love you leave behind. So, don't spend these years simply counting the candles on your birthday cake. Count the lives you've touched. Count the lessons you've learned. Count the reasons you still have to smile each morning. Wake up with gratitude. Take care of your health as best you can. Move your body every day, even if it's only a short walk. Keep your mind curious. Forgive quickly. Laugh often. Tell your family you love them while you still can. Call that old friend you've been thinking about. Watch another sunset. Read another good book. Plant another flower. Take another photograph. Create another memory. Because life after 65 isn't about waiting for time to pass. It's about making every remaining day meaningful. If today's message spoke to your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who may need encouragement today. It could be a brother, a sister, a lifelong friend, a neighbor, or a parent who may be quietly facing this stage of life alone. You never know whose heart might be lifted by a simple act of kindness. And if you enjoyed today's discussion, please support Sage Advice by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and turning on the notification bell so you never miss our future conversations. Before you leave, I'd love to hear from you. How old are you? And what is the greatest lesson life has taught you so far? Share your answer in the comments below. Your story may become the encouragement that another viewer desperately needs today. Here at Sage Advice, we believe growing older isn't something to fear. It's a privilege that many people never receive. Every new morning is another opportunity to love more deeply, forgive more freely, live more wisely, and leave the world a little better than you found it. Thank you for spending these precious moments with me. May your days be filled with good health, peace in your heart, strength in your spirit, and hope for everything that still lies ahead. Until we meet again in our next video, take good care of yourself. Take good care of those you love. And always remember, the best chapters of life are not always the first ones. Sometimes, the most beautiful chapter begins exactly where the world expects the story to end. God bless you. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.